Before wasting your time, we are going to share top 5 best mirrorless camera. Number 5 on the list is Panasonic Lumix G95. The Lumix G95 is a mid-range mirrorless camera that takes the popular G80-G85 with its comfortable body, decent viewfinder, fully articulated screen and built-in stabilization, and brings it up to date with a higher resolution 20-megapixel sensor that matches the G9 for photo quality, unlimited movie recording times, even in 4K, USB charging and power delivery, a very flat profile for grading, a headphone jack and Bluetooth to complement the Wi-Fi. On the downside, the 4K video incurs a tighter crop than the G80, which limits its usefulness compared to 1080, and in my tests, I also found the continuous autofocus less confident than the best of its rivals, especially for video. But these were my only complaints for what turned out to be a very capable and satisfying camera to shoot with. That said, there's no getting away from the fact it does face tough competition from similarly priced rivals, most notably the Sony a6400 and Fujifilm XT30, so you'll need to carefully weigh up the pros and cons when making your choice. Also keep an eye on the higher-end Lumix G9, which with discounting, could give you a lot more camera for only a little extra money. Number 4 on the list is Sony a6400. Sony's a6400 is a solid mid-range mirrorless camera with an APS-C sensor, delivering good quality 24-megapixel photos and 4K video. Improvements to the autofocus system mean it'll track and stay focused on subjects more successfully than any camera at its price point, whether you're shooting stills or filming video, and fast burst speeds mean it's also better suited to action than most rivals too. The screen can finally flip up by 180 degrees to face you for vlogging, and the rare ability to keep filming beyond half an hour makes it ideal for interviews and events. Frustratingly, if you fit a microphone to the hot shoe, you'll block the screen, but you could always use a bracket or a cabled microphone instead, and while there's no headphone jack or dual card slots, that's normal at this price. I'd have liked to see a better battery, but you can at least power the camera over USB, which is useful for long videos or time lapses, which have also been reinstated after the loss of downloadable apps. Arguably the biggest downside is the lack of built-in stabilization, which remains exclusive to the a6500 in Sony's APS-C range, annoying since it's long been standard across Sony's full-frame line. If you do need IBIS, perhaps for unstabilized primes, then the a6500 is still tempting even at a higher price, but I personally prefer the a6400 for its improved focusing, longer recordings and selfie screen, even with the hot shoe limitations. Since the previous a6500 followed the a6300 by only 8 months though, it does beg the question whether there'll be a stabilized version of the a6400 in the future, although presumably at a premium you may not be willing to pay. Plus, if you don't need the a6400's upgrades, look out for discounted a6300s, and if you don't need 4K or fast bursts, Canon's EOS M50 remains a great option for vloggers with a side-hinged screen and lower price. But personally speaking, the a6400 fits very well with my style of filming and lack of IBIS aside, it's a strong camera at the price point I'm happy to recommend. Number 3 on the list is Canon EOS RP. The Canon EOS RP is the most affordable new full-frame camera to date, whether DSLR or mirrorless. It gives you the 26-megapixel sensor from the 6D Mark II, delivering attractive JPEGs out of camera, a fully articulated touchscreen that's ideal for vlogging, microphone and headphone jacks, and Canon's industry-leading dual-pixel AF, which does a solid job with native RF or adapted F lenses and delivers effortless 1080 video. On the downside, the battery life is modest, there's no built-in stabilization, nor twin card slots, and there's a raft of frustrating video limitations. Filming in 4K incurs a tight crop, eliminating the benefit of having a full-frame sensor, and annoyingly loses dual-pixel autofocus too. There's no high frame rates for slow motion, and strangely number 1080 at 24p either. Even weirder, when you fit an FS lens, the 1080 options disappear altogether, leaving 720p if you want dual pixel AF or 4K without. Indeed, this coupled with the reduced photo resolution of 10 megapixels when adapting FS lenses on the RP will reduce its attractiveness for owners of Canon's APS-C DSLRs looking for an upgrade. Then there's the absence of a low-cost native RF zoom, steering owners to either the fixed RF 35mm or adapting an older F lens. If you're building a new system, the RP also faces stiff competition from the Sony a6400 and Fujifilm XT30, even with their smaller APS-C sensors. I think the EOS RP makes most sense as an upgrade for owners of much older Canon DSLRs, like the original 6D, or perhaps a 5D Mark II, or earlier APS-C models like the 70D or even older still. The further back you go, the more you stand to gain from the RP. These owners will enjoy a smooth transition to full-frame mirrorless with decent performance from existing f lenses and without breaking the bank. It'll become even more compelling once the RF24 to 240mm zoom arrives. Number 1 on the list is Canon EOS M200. The Fujifilm XT30 follows a tried and trusted recipe now on its third generation, delivering the same sensor, processing and autofocus of the flagship XT3 in a smaller, lighter and much more affordable body. As such, it becomes the second body to feature Fujifilm's latest 26-megapixel APS-C X-Trans IV sensor with 100% phase detect autofocus coverage and electronic bursts up to 30 fps with optional pre-burst capture too. It may lack the XT3's weatherproofing twin card slots, larger and higher resolution viewfinder, 4K up to 60p, and screen that angles sideways as well as vertically, but it boasts a pop-up flash absent from the flagship and now includes an AF joystick too. Compared to rivals, it lacks built-in stabilization, 4K movie clips longer than 10 minutes, a standard 3.5mm mic input, instead continuing to force you to adapt the 2.5mm jack, and a card slot that can exploit US2 card speeds. But as a general-purpose body, the XT30 remains a great choice, not just against new rivals, but also as an upgrade for the earlier XT20 and even the XT2. Note the original XT30 has recently been replaced by the mildly updated Mark II version. The body is virtually identical to the XT20 before it, sharing the same battery, good for 380 frames and USB chargeable, the same 2.36 million OLED viewfinder with 0.62x magnification, a pop-up flash, single card slot, still US-I only, and the same 2.5mm jack, which can double as a microphone input, albeit with an awkward adapter for most microphones. In a new move though, the rear buttons have been almost entirely replaced by an AF joystick, a classy inclusion at this price point, and one that provides alternative navigation to the tilting touchscreen. Number 1 on the list is Canon EOS M200. The Canon EOS M50 is an upper entry-level mirrorless camera with a 24-megapixel APS-C sensor, confident autofocus for stills and 1080p video, small but crisp OLED viewfinder, excellent wireless, and becomes Canon's first mirrorless with 4K video, a fully articulated touch screen, eye detection and silent shooting options. Sadly, the 4K is of limited use, employing a severe crop and only working with less confident contrast-based autofocus. I'm also frustrated there's no USB charging, especially since the battery is fairly weak. But these aside, the EOS M50 remains a highly compelling model with a compact but comfortable body, effective touchscreen, industry-leading wireless, confident focusing for 1080p video, and great colors out of camera. Indeed, the M50 may be pitched as an upper entry-level model, but I reckon it's Canon's most compelling mirrorless to date. Coupled with a hot shoe and microphone input, the M50 will be as popular with vloggers as it is with those looking for an upgrade from smartphone photography. Recommended: Canon may be pitching the M50 as a mid-range model, but if you can live without the greater physical controls of the top-end M5, I'd say the new features make the M50 the most compelling in the series to date, and also a keen rival for Fujifilm's XT20 and recent XA5, not to mention Sony's a6300 and Panasonic's Lumix G95. In my review, I'll find out how it measures up and whether it's Canon's best mirrorless to date. I'll start with 2 videos. A brief first looks overview, followed by my in-depth review with Doug K, which is also available as an audio podcast below. After this, I've detailed a number of the key features and capabilities.